Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the West Coast, where I'm going to be introducing you to this evening's stream. Bit of a weird one. I'm going to introduce the rules of the Insanity Challenge, which is what I'm beginning, and I'm going to call it the RainbowDave Gaming Insanity Challenge, because the rules are insane. And the equipment that I'll be starting the map with. Now, what I have done on this map is, number one, I bought the starter equipment, and number two, I have purchased field number 6. In addition to what you start off with, because I feel like I'll need more grass than those fields can give me. But let's get into the rules straight away. Hard difficulty only. You can only play hard difficulty. You'll notice seasons is on. 6-day seasons. Has to be 6 days. No tabbing or resets at all. I have tabbing disabled in game extension here. Look. No tabbing. Now, I will make exceptions for myself here when I'm setting up for stream. So that I can get screenshots and whatever. That's admin work within the map. That's fine as far as I can see it. But when I'm actually streaming, I will not be tabbing at all. I'll be walking at 1x speed at most. I will allow myself to go down to 0.5 and 0.1 if I need to, but 1x speed only. No money cheats, obviously. I'm starting off with the maximum loan, which I forgot with... I can't remember if it's seasons or the game does this. It's €300,000, which is significantly more than I thought. Crop destruction must be enabled. This one, I'll get back to another rule in a second. The loan has to be paid back in full before you can buy anything new, which... with the starter equipment I've chosen, and I encourage you to do something similar yourself, is going to be difficult. You have to nominate one yard. I've nominated the main yard here in the West Coast for all of your equipment until the loan's paid off. Once you pay off the loan, you can expand to whatever yards you want. But until then, all your equipment has to be stored in that yard. I've just realized I need to do something else with Money Cheat before I actually start playing, so I'll do that off camera after this video. If you're buying something at the shop, you have to go to the shop, physically go to the shop and use the shop icon there instead of using the P menu, and you've got to sell stuff manually there as well. So for new equipment, you've got to buy it manually, you've got to sell it manually. You're allowed at most 3 tractors, 1 harvester, 1 telehandler or load all or skid steer, whatever takes your fancy, and 1 lorry, 1 hook lift or 5th wheel truck. I've just realised I've accidentally repeated the rule twice in the Google Doc. Whoops, I'll fix that. If your money goes negative, and there's no way of making positive again, if you don't have enough crops to make it positive by selling them, game over. You lose. You have to have 10 of every animal. 10 cows, 10 sheep, 10 pigs, and unfortunately some chickens. Which, by the way, you're allowed to ignore the chickens, because they're just annoying. And you're not allowed to do forestry. We'll get back to that. I need to just tab out real quick and scroll. Oh yes, scrolling. You gotta start with 10 big bags of liquid fertilizer and solid... Okay, 10 big bags of liquid fertilizer, solid fertilizer, seeds, and food for each animal. This is just to allow you to kind of get a start, because 15,000 in hard mode is not easy. You gotta start with a 3 meter or less seeder, which I need to find a good seeder that's a bit smaller than the one I'm currently using. And cultivator. So 3 meters maximum. And the smallest mower, tether, windrower, fertilizer spreader, and sprayer you can find. So you can use the smallest mods you can find. The grass fields must be rolled when you start the game, so that's going to be one of the jobs in today's stream. And every time they've been mowed. Weeders are fine too, and grass harrows. But I'm personally going to use Farming 898's roller, and that's the one I recommend and strongly suggest if you want to do this challenge. Also, you can do this on console, you can do this on any map. Doesn't necessarily have to be the West Coast. Just pick one that will be difficult with these rules. You're allowed, much like in my Sandy Bay challenge, 2 hard workers and or courseplay at any given time. So 2 hard workers, 2 courseplay, or 1 hard worker, 1 courseplay worker. In terms of what counts as a hired worker, anything the game registers is a worker. is a worker. So follow me, which I know a lot of people will use. That counts as a hired worker because the game registers it as a hired worker. Silage, you're only allowed to make bale silage. You can make round or square, it's up to you, but you cannot make pit silage. I know it's not ecological, but that's the way that it is. This isn't an ecological challenge, it's a difficulty challenge. You've got to buy all the seeds and fertilizer at the shop. You must ignore or disable all infinite seed and fertilizer spawn points. I'm reading from the Google Doc, by the way, if you didn't tell. In terms of how you can buy seeds and fertilizer, unless you're on console, where this isn't going to apply, because I don't think there's anything like this on console, you have to use the Albert bag fork and some form of big bags. I'd recommend Jolly Dodgers because you can get the bigger big bags, but you can use SOBs and FSI teams as well if you really want to. But Jolly Dodgers have TMR available, which you can use for the cows and the sheep. And here's another thing that's going to make it difficult, and why I've allowed you to start off with food. You got to feed your animals. You can't let them die. You got to give them food. You got to give them water. You can't let them die because you let them die. You've suddenly got less than 10. Now I wasn't originally going to allow this, but I realized there's a better way to do this. If you want to sell silage at the BGA, you have to use BGA extension and you have to activate the BGA. Now, because that's a purchase, you're not allowed to do that before you pay off the 300,000 euro loan, or pound or dollar or whatever. I should mention at this point, I have no idea if this is actually a playable challenge. This is part of the fun. Fieldwork, you'll notice it's 9:05 AM. I'm running behind right now because fieldwork is only allowed between 9 AM and 5 PM. Now, because the way seasons work, you're allowed to do animal work whatever time you need to, because sometimes in the winter you will need to feed the animals in the middle of the night. That's perfectly fine, that's just a thing. In terms of vehicle storage, yes, I've gone this far. You've got to store them indoors all the time. You've got to harvest all your crops when they're grown, even grass. So 3 grass harvests a year. And I would suggest strongly that grass harvests be done late spring, late summer, late autumn. That way you get 3 grass harvests a year out of every field. You're not allowed to use any kind of auto-load, even the in-game auto-loaders, which granted are real. The only auto-load that is allowed is obviously with round bale wrappers, or bale wrappers, because they have an auto-load and there's no way to turn that off. You gotta stack all your bales manually though. That is a big thing. They've all got to be manually stacked. And they must be indoors at all times. Even the silage bales, which I know can be stored outdoors, they have to be stored indoors. Crop sales. Unless you're running out of money and you need money to keep going, because if you gotta avoid going negative money-wise at all costs. Crop sales only during the winter and spring. I'm allowing 2 seasons for it because you might be bored at the end of the springtime or whatever. But that's the only time you're allowed to sell crops. Fields, you gotta plow them all every year, even the grass fields. Now, with the grass fields, I am going to make a bit of a quality of life thing here for you guys. You can plow the grass fields in the autumn after the grass harvest. Because otherwise you'll be waiting forever to get the first load of grass in, and the first winter will be very difficult, if not impossible. Another rule that's going to make life a bit more difficult for people, and is why I'm kind of keeping the number of fields I own at the start low, because you could easily just spam all the fields on a map. Except for this thing. This one rule, to prevent you just spamming every field on a map and going out with your tiny equipment and trying to do it all. If you own a field, you work the field. You can't just buy everything on a map and work the fields you have time for. You have to work them all. You can't just leave them with no crops for a year because it's easier or because you run out of time. Tough luck, you gotta make time. I did change a rule here. This was... I'll talk about it in a second. If you want to set a bale, you have to have 50 of that bale type in storage before you can even think about selling bales. Those animals gotta eat. You gotta have storage. So if you want to sell a silage bale, you have to have 50 silage bales stored up already, ready to go. Straw, 50 straw bales. Hay, 50 hay bales. That was originally 200, but then I realized that that would just be a lag fest. So I reduced it down to 50. That should be enough to keep a decent sized group of animals going during the winter. And the last rule of the challenge is you can use GPS mod if you want. I'm not going to disallow that at all. However, you're only allowed to use it in tractors that would actually have GPS, so more modern stuff, not something from the 60s, 70s, 80s, or maybe even 90s. It's gotta make sense that it would have GPS. So now that the rules are there, and I will have a link to the Google Doc in the description, let's have a look at the evil I've unleashed upon myself by going around the back of the house here and having a look at the equipment. So we are using this mower, which is hilariously tiny. I think it's the Coon mower from the old Classics pack. I found this on literally a website that I can't remember and decided that it'd be kind of fun to use. We're going to use the Pottinger Top 462 windrower. We've got the McHale 991SB, is it? I've forgotten what exactly this is. McHale Bale Wrapper anyway, the 3.1. We have... Did I get myself a tether? I'm sure I got myself a tether, but I can't remember. Oh, there it is. Yes, it's a little tiny hay bob. I'm actually going to swap that out for a different one. And I might get rid of the windrowers as well. I want to swap this out for CD Models hay bob, because I find it slightly better. And I might swap out the windrowers result for the same hay bob, effectively. We have the Bale trailer from the Black Sheep Modding Massey pack. It's the smallest one I could find. I decided to go with a Joskin 7300S, despite the fact that it's quite large as a water tanker, just because it's a bit painful to get water together, and that makes life just the tiniest bit easier. Yes, I'm using the teeny tiny Hammond animal trailer with the blurred out phone number that I didn't realize at the start. The Brno Safari HSRB 5390, because it's tiny and it's hilarious. And yes, you got to pick up and drop off the animals manually, which I didn't actually... Well, it goes into the shop rules, doesn't it? In terms of animal feeding, we've got the Gavile round bale feed mixer. Yes. Fertilizer, we have I've forgotten what this is. This is the teeny tiny one off the Mod Hub. I'm going to swap out the seeder. We've got, yeah, the Ransome's plough, 3 furrow. Ransome's cultivator, tiny. Got the, obviously, the roller, the Graze roller, which for a brief second, I forgot that was actually playable. I thought that was a set piece. The Massey Ferguson 125F, because I'm going to need to make bales, and that's probably the best thing to use. If I come around here, we get a bit more equipment here. I found this Polish potato planter on literally a website. I thought it looked kind of cool, so we're going to use that. I've just realized I need something that can plant corn. Yeah, the Z319 potato kit I found on, I think, Mod Hoster. I can't remember where exactly. And the Beaky trailer, which is the slightly bigger brother of the one that didn't work on Sandy Bay, that I'm hoping works. If it doesn't, I will... If I will say there is exceptions to the money cheat. If mods don't work or I need to show something off during a stream, I will allow money cheat to just swap them directly for something of similar-ish size. Or if I need to show something off or do a demonstration, then obviously it's going to be fine. I've decided to give myself the load-all to start. I was going to use a telehandler, or a skid steer. I was going to use the Bobcat, but then I realized that would have been ridiculous for trying to do with bales. So I have allowed myself the load-all. In terms of harvester, we've got the Bison from the Platinum DLC. And you're probably wondering, because I've been kind of hinting at evil tractors. A very evil tractor choice. Well, what have I given myself for tractors? Well. This is our most powerful tractor right here. It's the International 844 Synchron. It has a grand total of 80 horsepower. This is our second most powerful tractor, it's the Massey Ferguson 240 by Peter J. And our least powerful tractor, which will still be very heavily used, my beloved 135. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Now, as I said before, you're allowed 10 big bags of everything. So I have 10 big bags in over here of fertilizer, of seed, and obviously pallets of liquid fertilizer. Did I remember to give myself a sprayer? Because I think I forgot. I think I forgot to give myself I forgot to give myself a sprayer. That's something I need to work on. So I do still have a small bit of setup to do tonight and tomorrow. If I go over to the cows, also you won't be allowed to teleport around like this, but this is just for demonstration, so you can see what I'm starting off with for realsies. If we go over to the cows, you'll see 10 pallets of cow food. This will also work for sheep, as it turns out. Dairy cows, beef cows, and sheep, so I'll be getting 10 more for the sheep. I don't currently have that. If I go over to the pigs, you will see that I have over here 10 big bags of pig feed. So we're good for feeding the animals, we're good for watering the animals. We've got all the tools we need. The problem is we've got to, we're going to have to start off with rolling field 81, rolling field 30, rolling field 6, and ploughing actually, well, the little meadow behind the farm, I'm not going to plough immediately. I'm going to mow this, but I'm not going to plough it or roll it because it doesn't actually exist as a meadow, I believe. Let me just tab over here, or teleport over here and double check this. Because, yeah, it doesn't exist as ploughable grass at the moment. So, come the autumn in the first year, which will probably take a while. Come the autumn in the first year, this is going to be ploughed up and reseeded with grass. Because it needs to be ploughed up and reseeded with grass. It just has to be. You might notice I got no rules about placeables. You can use whatever the hell placeables you like, as long as they're not infinite sources of things. So if you want to make compost, you can use the compost master. If you want to make seeds, you can use the seed master, because they use fuel. And I think the seed master takes fertilizer and crops, and they cost money to run. As long as something's not an infinite source of something, I'm fine with you guys using it. I'm going to use as few placeables as I can. I may use the compost master in time. But I think I forgot a rule somewhere. Because there used to be a rule, and I forgot it. Oh, that's annoying. There is another rule, and this is the last one, because I completely forgot about it. If you make straw or grass, so every time you mow the grass, every time you harvest wheat or barley, you're making bales. Regardless, you're not allowed to just cultivate straw under. I'm also gonna ban you using chop straw. You're not allowed to chop the straw in the harvester. You gotta drop swath. You gotta drop swath, you gotta bale. So you're gonna have to try and balance off your straw crops, which are usually quite good at producing money, with your cash crops. Because I'm allowing, chop straw for things that literally don't put out straw. So corn, sugar beets, potatoes, what else is there? Soybeans, did I say canola? Stuff like that you're fine with. But you gotta make straw where you can. And yeah, that's gonna be it. I've taken 20 minutes to explain all the rules. The Google Doc will be linked in the description below. It's reasonably prettified. I need to just change a few things. In fact, I'm gonna just tab out of the game and add in the 2 rules that I just remembered that I've somehow managed to forget. If you make straw grass, you bale it, leaving it on the field. What was the second one? Oh yeah. If you grow a crop that can produce straw, you can't chop the straw. There we go. But that is going to do it for this video. I know it's not something that I usually do, where I like have a video that is literally introducing a stream that's going to be on later tonight. But I feel like the rules needed a bit of explaining and going through and kind of separating it all out. And I will have the final introduction of all the start equipment tomorrow, or today, tomorrow for me, today for you, in the stream. So we'll find out if I manage to find cedars that I like. But until then, I'll leave you by saying I've been RainbowDave. You've been watching the introduction to the Insanity Challenge. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. Hope you're looking forward to the stream. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.